So what brings you in today?
Yeah, so I've been having a hard time. My grandma passed away a few months ago, and that just has been really hard on me, and I haven't felt like I could talk to anyone about it. So
Well, I appreciate you coming in to talk about it. It's a big step. Yeah, losing someone close to us can feel really, really heavy, and like a lot of emotions can come about, and so we need to kind of face them, and so this is a good atmosphere to face that.
I have a lot of emotions that I feel like I'm having a hard time sorting through, and my family hasn't really talked about the death at all since it happened. My grandma passed away. There's a few days leading up to the funeral that I was spending a lot of time with the family, but since the funeral, everyone's kind of gone back to their normal routine. Like no one has really talked about it, and I still have all these emotions and thoughts about it, and I just feel like there's no one to talk to, and that everyone's kind of just moved on to their normal schedule.
Yeah, so it seems like there's a lot of avoidance going on where people just feel awkward talking about it, and so it just makes you feel like it's not your place to talk about it, but you also need to.
Yeah, like I would feel really awkward bringing it up because my parents haven't even mentioned it since the funeral, and that has seemed weird to me because I can only assume that my whole family is still hurting from what happened, but no one has said anything or brought it up, and I don't know if that's my responsibility to bring up or even what there is to bring up. I don't know how to navigate this exactly.
Yeah. So would you say that there's maybe more heaviness being put on you because people aren't talking about it, and so it's not giving you space to?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like since I'm not able to talk about it, I feel very heavy. And then even seeing everyone else in my family seems okay because they haven't brought anything up. So then I feel weird. Like, am I supposed to be hurting still?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns in the beginnings of the grieving process.
Yeah, I think I'm still grieving, and just, I don't know how long that's supposed to last, or if how my family is grieving, because we haven't talked about it at all.
Yeah. Help me understand, like, has there been, like, another instance of loss in the family where this has happened, or, like,
No, this is the first person, like, close to my family who's passed away.
Okay.
So it's kind of new for all of us. New, that we haven't had to deal with the loss of someone this close before. And it's the closest person to me that has passed away in my life. So I haven't handled grief this much before.
Yeah, that sounds really hard, just to the newness of it, and like losing someone close to you, where it just leaves like a kind of an empty space.
It does.
It just takes a while to get grow through it.
Yeah, my grandma, she lived like less than 10 minutes away from us, so she was in my life a lot, especially the past few years. She has always come to my sporting events, and I definitely feel like that hole in my life is there, and I don't know how to fill that, or even if I can, and a part of me feels guilty about that. So
yeah, explain what guilty means to you. How would you feel guilty?
Yeah, so I feel guilty because I guess, for moving on, per se, because she was such a big part of my life. I feel like I shouldn't just move on and forget about her. Like, I'm just scared that not scared, I just feel guilty for going back to my normal routine and my normal life and just moving on without her.
Yeah, just without her, it seems like it's a whole different way of living, where she was just such a huge part in that, and like, to replace that kind of feels like she doesn't mean anything anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like to think about replacement. I think that's what makes me feel guilty of filling that hole with other things and just replacing her. because she was really important to me. So I don't know how to move forward without her here.
Yeah, so you're just trying to figure out like the next steps and moving on without her.
Yeah, I just don't know what the next steps are, what they look like, and just like I said earlier, feel like I can't talk to a lot of people about it.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your family isn't even like really approaching like the grieving process really, and so it's just kind of hard for you to know what to do too, because they're kind of, would you say, role models in a way? Or?
Yeah, I'm really close with my family, and then since the funeral, everyone went back to their normal schedule, their normal routine. So it's not like, we haven't had one conversation about anything with my grandma since she passed away. So, which feels unnatural because she was a big part of our lives, and now she's not here, and we're not talking about her. So it just feels like there's a really big gap. Like it was very quick of like, my grandma, she passed away, and then like nothing of her. So
yeah, it just maybe feels like you've been thrown into the deep end really, and you're just trying to find a way to keep pushing through it.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, I don't think I'm too reliant on my family, but it feels like I've been pushed into the deep end, and I just have no one there to help me. It feels a bit isolating.
So, you said isolating, so does that mean like, you feel like do you have any siblings that could help you, or?
Yeah, and the thing is, I have 3 siblings and 2 parents. We all live at home together, and they're there, but they're not people I feel like I can talk to about it. I don't want to stir the waters too much, because I don't want to make people angry by bringing it up, or I don't want to bring it up and them not be grieving anymore, and then to think I'm weird for talking about it. So yeah, I have siblings, so it feels weird that I can't go to them to talk about this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I can see that. So you feel like if you start talking about it, it might bring up a lot of conflict when it's already such a heavy time where emotions are high, and you just don't want to make anybody feel worse than they do. I don't like conflict. I like to avoid conflict, so I don't want to bring up something that might cause conflict. So that might be where the guilt is coming from, where you feel guilty not accepting that she's gone, and then you don't want to bring that into the family.
I wouldn't feel guilty for causing my family any more grief, and then so there's that aspect of it, but then I also would feel guilty for just moving on and never talking about my grandma. So it just feels like there's this tension between how to honor my grandmother well, but also to like move on without her here.
That is hard. What would you say, like, help me understand, like what's the biggest, like, feeling that you're feeling with that emptiness in your life right now?
I think I'm just feeling overall hurt, and I think that's just more exasperated or just emphasized because I can't or haven't talked to anyone about it. I feel like if I were to talk to my family about it and like we could share our grief together, that it would just be a much smoother transition. But I just feel a lot of hurt because 1, I'm still grieving, and 2, I just don't have anyone to talk to about it. So
you might be feeling like you want to grieve by yourself first, and then maybe start talking to your families in the future, and you feel like that might bring resolution.
Well, I think I would be ready to talk to my family about it, and I would want it to bring resolution, but I'm afraid it would bring more conflict than anything.
Yeah, so that fear is inhibiting you. Okay.